They can come without warning, crashing in from any direction.
And sometimes it's really, really hard because I'm like, I can't do this.
They can take the best of us far off course, adrift at the whim of the waves.
So, you know, I really got lost. I did a lot of bad things to a lot of people.
They can be too strong, too much for any of us to battle.
I'm just not enough.
At least too much to battle on our own.
None of us can do this alone. None of us can make the choices and the changes and the progress in our lives that has to be made alone.
There was a time in my life when my children and I needed help and it wasn't there. And I don't want that for other families. They need help and we should be there for them.
Like a lighthouse in a storm, Hope Harbor is there for them.
When I first got here, my life was like in shambles.
At the age of 16, Diane had already been through more storms than most people in a lifetime.
I was smoking pot like every day. I was drinking, you know, like a month before I came here, I got hooked on pills and I was out of my mind.
Her mother disappeared from her life when Diane was just a toddler.
I mean, she could be dead and I wouldn't even know.
Her father, admittedly overwhelmed by the responsibility of being a single dad, eventually turned to Hope Harbor.
I would welcome the help, advice, whatever they've, got, because I really don't feel specially qualified to be doing this,
Hope Harbor does know.
The gravity of the situation which confronts the world today necessitates my appearance before a joint session of the Congress.
In 1947, the year of the Truman Doctrine, providing aid to countries whose governments were threatened with overthrow, another critical mission began in northeast Oklahoma, providing aid to children and families facing pain, loss, and desperation. Much has changed since then, but some things have not.
Hopeless, completely. There was nothing in my life to keep me going.
There have always been people without hope.
Before I came here, I was like, there is no God. There is no way there's a God.
It is the mission of Hope Harbor to restore hope and empower children and families to have lives rich in meaning and purpose. Tucked away in a quiet rural area outside Claremore, Oklahoma, Hope Harbor accomplishes that mission in several ways, none more important than what you see here. From a rousing game of ping pong,
I can move too,
to a quiet game of chess,
okay, let's pray, guys,
to prayer before dinner time. Young teens, considered at risk, often because of traumatic events and family upheaval in their lives, are provided something they badly need, a home where there is peace.
That was on you. You did.
And laughter. And yes, responsibility. Daily chores.
It has to be done right.
Are required. Establishing what it means to be a responsible member of a family. At the heart of this is accountability. Privileges are earned, and they can be lost.
It shocks them, I think, when they come in. It's like, ooh, we're going to have to really work on this. And some will get into it right away, and some resist it because that's all they know.
The children's homes of Hope Harbor provide the consistency they've lacked. Donna and Don Musgrave
just love the challenge of helping young people.
Are among the highly trained and experienced house parents, providing loving guidance and structure for the teens who live with them while they're at Hope Harbor. There are separate homes for boys and girls, with no more than 6 teens per home at one time. Individual attention is key.
From the moment of her birth, she had the message from her father that it probably would have been better if she was not born.
Licensed professional counselor Jim Baumgardner says, Whether the challenges children face are emotional, academic, or spiritual, Hope Harbor believes in the goodness and resilience of children. And everything that happens here is with the goal of helping them believe in themselves. But to get that close takes trust.
She was not going to let us get close to her because she had been close to so many people, and people have left, came and left in her life.
Hope Harbor knows it's not easy. Trust must be earned.
The trust factor there again, is everything to these kids. But you just have to, they just walked a different walk before they came in these doors.
I think once you've experienced so much failure, you get caught up into the failure thing, so we have to convince them that they have the potential, that they can learn, and they can achieve, and they can accomplish.
The Academy at Hope Harbor takes students who are ready to drop out.
I was doing bad. I wasn't getting A's and B's like I was in elementary. I was getting D's, C's, and F's.
And opens their eyes.
When you read the Bill of Rights, what is that about?
So they can see themselves in a very different way.
Most of them just don't know that they can be successful. So you just have to turn the light on for them and convince them that they can.
It's this amazing feeling like, oh my goodness. I mean, when I came in here, straight F's. I didn't have anything other than an F because I didn't try it. I didn't want to try it. I didn't want to do anything. I came here, I'm making straight A's. 1B. 1B.
The Academy's veteran teachers work with students in small groups and often one-on-one.
They're actually sitting there and it's hands-on education. Like they're sitting there, anytime you have a question, they're there and they're willing to answer it.
For many of them, they have gotten lost in public school because public schools can't slow down for them. And we actually slow the process down so we can get them back on track and willing to learn.
The Academy provides certified instruction in all the core subjects, with an emphasis on developing a love of reading. Some students who once didn't pick up a book now have a hard time putting them down.
Preparing a place in heaven for them, right?
Bible study is also part of the students' day, and art.
They're just like this big, powerful, beautiful creature.
There's something special about this drawing, but we'll get back to that.
Hope Harbor has always been a place for children, a place to restore hope, a place to help young people have safety and have a chance at their lives. More and more over the years, it's become a place for children and families, and a place to strengthen families, and a place to restore families.
While the Academy and the children's homes focus on the boys and girls, Hope Harbor is also a shelter in the storm for parents and guardians.
We don't want to replace the parents. We don't want to replace anybody. We want that unit to stay a unit and become stronger. And the families come to depend on us for that. And they want to be a part of that. They just don't know how.
How do you raise a child who is
just being defiant and determined to do things her way,
who no longer respects herself or anyone else?
And when you have a child that doesn't want to follow the rules that we were taught or that the values we learned that we've been trying to teach, then you seek other help.
Hope Harbor provides that help with parenting classes.
It was difficult for us because we had to learn a different way of raising kids in this era. It was completely different than when we raised our three girls.
Three girls.
Three girls. So now this is a boy that's you know, a little on the hyper side and that needed special attention. He was heading down the wrong path, and he was going to end up with the wrong crowd, and maybe even worse, you know, in prison. I mean, that's where he was heading.
Thrust into the primary parenting role again, to a father who is struggling to raise a teenage daughter by himself.
I mean, honestly, I still have concerns about, you know, when she comes home, you know.
To a great aunt, often forced to be the bad guy.
And a lot of times she has pushed the discipline off to me so that she doesn't have to be the bad guy. She doesn't have to be the one always saying no. And for me, it has been really hard to balance between being fair and being strict.
Hope Harbor offers the expertise and experience to help parents and guardians find that balance and restore harmony in the house, not only through parent training on site, but by taking that training and professional counseling into the community. Christian counseling is provided to children and families, regardless of ability to pay.
And as a counselor, I do my best to draw on my relationship with God and try to funnel that into the lives of those that I'm seeing so that they can see His light for their lives.
Hope Harbor is built on the unshakable faith that God is the light that guides children and families through the darkest storms.
What we get to do is to be Christ to people who have perhaps never seen Christ, to be hope to people who are struggling and have reached a place where it's hard to believe that things can ever get better.
Whether the client comes in, with a spiritual perspective or not, that is where I come from, and I draw upon that strength and that guidance in that relationship. It's really a must.
I'm very, very excited about the counseling program with Jim Baumgartner because as a school administrator, I was constantly having families that were in crisis and looking for a way to serve them, a place to send them.
Retired elementary school principal Patty Lehman.
This row is men's pants, starting with size 28 and moving on up.
Supports the mission of Hope Harbor by volunteering here at Thrift Harbor.
And a lot of the items come in with the price tags still hanging on them. It's amazing. In fact, right down here, I just noticed there's a women's jacket, if it hasn't been bought already this morning, right here. This is an Evan Picone with price tags still on it. It's never been worn. $1. Can't beat it.
Thrift Harbor not only gives people in the community a way to save money, but also raises money to help Hope Harbor meet a need that is only growing.
It's crucial. There is a need for children that just is compounding daily. The breakdown of families, financial difficulties, all kinds of issues that are rising with families.
When I first heard she was going to jail again, I was just crushed. I felt like I was gonna fall into a million pieces. I burst out in tears. I was like, why?
Beyond the children's homes and academy, beyond the parent training and community counseling, Hope Harbor also goes beyond these fences with razor-sharp wire, beyond the high walls and the bars.
I was really afraid I would never see her again when she went to prison.
To bring hope to children like Brittany, her sister Tabitha, and their mother, whose drug addictions cost her more than her freedom.
I was always upset about it. I remember crying a lot because I missed my mom. And
the girls were taken away to live with a relative.
And at that point, I just completely crumbled because I felt like I had walked away from him. I gave up, and it was really overwhelming.
That's when Bill Hamrick came into Misty's life.
Many of the inmates feel that they're worthless. They've been told they were. When they start realizing that they can change and that they can learn to be a better parent or even a good parent, it changes their whole attitude about themselves.
Bill Hamrick coordinates Hope Harbor's prison ministry, taking parent training, life training, and counseling to inmates in a very dark place.
He gave me something that I didn't feel like I was getting anywhere else. He gave me hope. He gave me the will to want to change, to try to come out of the darkness.
There are many people who are incarcerated, men and women, who with just a little bit of help could do so much better.
Misty is one of those people.
I don't have a desire to go back to the way I was living. I hate that I wasted so many years of my life drowning myself.
Now, out of prison, she's clean, has a good job, and her hope is restored for a good life with her daughters.
They mean everything to me. They're a hope for me. I want to see them. I want to see them live a good life. I want to see them make good choices. I want to be there for them, to show them, you know, that it's okay to mess up, but you have to make it right.
She wants us to be great people, and she knows that we have great things in our future, and she just tells us every day not to make the mistakes she did.
I told her that I forgave her, but I don't think I'd be able to again if she ever did anything like that again. And she hasn't, so I'm pretty good with it now.
It's so wonderful to have my family welcome me home, welcome me in, want to see me, call me and ask me to come over. You know, it feels so good for the first time in about 12 years to be able to be a part of something bigger than myself. You know, it really does.
In a world full of storms, there is still hope.
There's no words to describe how my mom is. She's an amazing mother.
Hope for children whose parents have become lost. Hope for boys like Jeffrey.
I don't know. I just get mad sometimes.
Whose anger once held him back, but no longer.
He's finding out that there's somebody special under there.
Someone who's intelligent and whose anger is fading to reveal a boy who can brighten any room with his sense of humor.
Did you hear about the guy that got his whole left side cut off?
No, I didn't.
He's all right now. Yeah.
He's a wonderful kid. He's got a great heart. Yeah. And, you know, we had to do something. And I'm just really thankful that there are organizations out there that will do this for children.
And remember this drawing?
Significant detail, the variation in color, and yet the pride that is embodied in this symbol, this animal of her choice, is something that actually almost, you could just say, represents her.
They're just like this big, powerful, beautiful creature.
16-year-old Diane is really describing herself.
I feel empowered, you know, like I can go out there and do something.
I'm thinking in my mind right now the logo of the lighthouse, and that you know, Jesus said, "I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life." In another passage, he said, "I am the light of the world."
Hope Harbor is guided by that light, and in everything, it seeks to shine that light on others.
Absolutely. It's about people. It's about sharing the message of Christ, affecting systemic change. It's seed planting.
Just as the smallest seed can become so much more, hope can transform lives.
Absolutely. Made in God's image, and that they don't have to continue to make the same old mistakes they've made in their life.
One parent put it, if this is what I have to do to save my daughter, then I just have to do it.
This isn't where I belong, but it's where I need to be.
Following the light of Christ, restoring hope in children and families. Is there anything more important?
I don't think there is. I'm very committed to it. All families need help at one time or another, whether it's through a traumatic death, grief, loss, extended illnesses in the family. It takes a toll on the family. The tornadoes that came through a few months ago create situations where families were devastated, losses, wartime. Although soldiers just returned from Iraq, that's been a long siege, and the military families have been suffering. So I think there's always going to be a huge place for, I think we could increase our services exponentially and still not meet the need.
There's a scripture I love that we talk a lot about, Jeremiah 29:11. where God's people have reached a place where they're giving up hope. Where they're wondering, is God ever coming back for us? Does God remember us?
Hope Harbor is proof God remembers.
Somehow, this place is just different. I mean, like, you're always surrounded by these people who love you and care about you.
For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope.